Reaper from where I know him from, Mr. Tyler Labine! Hello, sir. Have a seat. How are you?
I do.
Good, good. How's your con so far?
My con, is this being plugged in? No, it's not.
No, there might be.
Oh my
They're
God.
wireless. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we've
Something
gone fancy.
Well, again, the con is going great because of things like this. You know, wireless mics, holy shit.
You can't go wrong with wireless, right? There's no more of the feedback and everything. I love it in here. All right, so before, you want to get everybody smile,
I'm gonna do a video and everyone just say, hi, Tyler. Hold on. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi.
Hi.
Chris on the envelope. Thank you.
I love it.
Interactive.
That's what we need more of. Do you want to make phone calls? We can call people.
No, I don't,
No?
I don't have any friends.
Anybody want to talk in? No? All right, good. So I want to start off talking about New Amsterdam because unfortunately the show just wrapped.
Mm-hmm.
4 seasons, 5 seasons as Dr. Iggy Fromm, correct? Now, one of the things that I've noticed in tandem with you starring in the show is this increase on your social media about caring about mental health. You've always seemed to be gentle with mental health issues, and now it seems more that you're an advocate for people getting help that they need. And do you feel that came from the character you're playing, from the experience of it, or what?
Excuse me, guys. It's an interesting question. Obviously, the journey with mental health for me, and with anybody, starts from the beginning. You know, like my whole life, I've been like, what the fuck is wrong with me? But I got sober 5.5 years ago, almost 6 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And you know, it's funny when you're a drunk or an alcoholic or a drug addict, which I was all of the above. You put mental health on the back burner for sure. Everything becomes about it's all very simple-minded, you know. It's just enabling my own addiction, and you just bury everything. Like I just literally was walking around sort of like a shell, an empty human being, you know. And so I got sober right as we began shooting New Amsterdam. I was like maybe 3 months sober.
Oh, wow.
And this character came up, and I don't know if you guys know me from Reaper or from like Tucker and Dale or any other number of things that I've done. I play very not sensitive.
I saw
kind of loud-mouthy characters.
I saw a couple of reviewers talk to you about some of your characters being referred to as lovable galoots.
Yeah, lovable galoots, disheveled, you know, unkempt best friend, whatever it is. And I sort of drank my own Kool-Aid, if that makes any sense. Like after a while, I was like, oh, I just am that guy. And then we started doing New Amsterdam, and I was like slowly being revealed to myself through playing Iggy Fromm. And it was just a really magical experience. And then the writers and our show creator, David Schulner, started actually approaching me and saying, hey, do you have things in your life that you would like to tackle on the show? And that's where this big storyline about my disordered eating and eating disorders and everything came from, and body dysmorphia, and anxiety. And then also my mother was a healthcare worker, a mental health care worker for years and years in Vancouver, Canada. And I just had a really vested interest in telling the story on network TV that doesn't get told very often, which is like, why is health different from mental health?
Yeah.
Like if someone has a degenerative heart disease, you're not like, ooh,
Yeah.
you must be fucked up. But if someone says I have bipolar disorder or I'm manic depressive, people like shy away from you. But it's all just under the health umbrella, you know.
It's
so
just
I was really invested in that. And so yeah, the kind of birth of my kind of platform about mental health was born from New Amsterdam for sure. Yeah. And I realized I could use my platform to help more people.
Well, you are very much somebody that in social media, I usually, when getting to interview amazing guests here, I usually don't get to bring up social media because of all the negative connotations that happen with social media. I can say from following you on social media, you are a very open and a very genuine person. As much as as much as you can say somebody is when you're seeing them through the guise of through one lens and another lens, your lives, when people are talking to you and asking questions, I've never once, as opposed to other celebrities, see them shut down questions. I've seen you just, especially when getting into things like, you were heading to the gym the other day and doing a live, and you were answering questions about your body dysmorphia and what led you to the gym. And first of all, that's a conversation in Hollywood all onto its own.
Yeah.
But it's also never a conversation that is had for men in Hollywood quite often. We don't talk about, hey, you're playing the lovable galoot. I'm an actor. I've played the fat best friend I don't know how many times.
Every time.
And just, I don't need to get healthier because why not? I'm just going to keep playing that role anyway. Is there a role that you've played along your career that stands out as one of these things that was so like you that you were like, what am I even doing here? Or so unlike you that you're like, okay, I want to be more like that guy?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky question. Like, there have definitely been things in my career that have felt like easy, second nature. Like playing Sock on Rebirth for me was like the CW. We shot the pilot and then they tested it, and Sock tested higher than any character in the history of the CW at the time, anyway. And they were like, whatever you did, just keep doing it. And I was like, I don't know what I did. I have no idea. But I was ad-libbing and I was doing all, I just was like inserting as much of me into it as possible. And then someone gave me the green light to just do that to death. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do everything. And by the time we finished shooting Reaper, I was like, I don't ever want to do that again. Like, it really turned me off by the end of it. I was like, I feel like I did it. I've done that. I don't know what else to do with that. So, and then, characters come along like Iggy Fromm, where it's so different from what people have gotten to know me as, but probably a little closer to home to who I feel inside. I feel like that character of the really loudmouthy, brash best friend was like, this is turning into a therapy session, but it's like,
it's turning into a conversation, like we said it was
a nice place to hide. That's an easy place to hide. Look at how loud I am. If I'm louder than you, then I can control where you're looking. And that became like my career. It was like I could be the loudest and the funniest guy in the room, and that worked really well for me until it didn't.
Until you just didn't feel like being it.
I just felt like it was totally disingenuous to who I am. Okay. And so and this is like a cool thing about acting, like if you are invested as a human being in what you do, in any profession, it all kind of unravels the way it's supposed to, or unwinds the way it's supposed to. And as an actor, you get to have like a roadmap. You can actually look back at your entire life and your growth as an actor. If you're doing it right, you should be seeing an arc.
You definitely should, yeah.
And I've had a really big arc, I felt like I played a lot of the same characters, but I look back now at the breadth of what I've done. And it's like, well, that was me. I was going through that at that time. Oh, I was going through that when I did that. Oh man, remember how that thing happened to me when I was doing that? And it's all there.
Then let me pick your brain on something that one of the first reviews for the TV show Deadbeat said that it was Tyler Labine is playing Sock again.
Oh, sure.
Is what I saw in this review, and in watching Deadbeat, maybe it was Sock now grown up, because I feel there's a big difference.
I do too. I think initially, I think I was hired because I played Sock, but they never wanted me to do that, and I never wanted to do it either. I wanted to play a much more sweet, sad character. Sock had almost no emotion. He was like a walking loner, and he was like, he was just sort of a dickhead and took pride in being a dickhead. And that's fun to play, man, because there's no rules, there's no consequences. Like, if we could all walk around the world like Sock, we would probably last as a society for about a fucking day. You just can't do that. So it's fun to get permission to just hit the gas. But Pac in Deadbeat was not like that. He was sweet and kind of stupid, but also like really pure and honest. And so I didn't feel like he was like Sock at all. I didn't approach him the same way at all.
Didn't feel like it. That's why since you're talking about the roadmap, I would love that difference in your life between that moment of shock and then Deadbeat, because since it is Sinister and we're talking horror, Deadbeat fits right in there with Reaper, right in there with Tucker and Dale, as far as taking a horror concept and playing it as a comedy, which I've said, I don't know how many times on our podcast and amongst people talking here, that the skill level between comedy and horror is the same skill.
Yeah.
Setting up a punch is setting up a kill.
Yeah.
And whether it works or not is all about in the person who's setting it up and doing
Sure.
And so the setup that you give for something like Deadbeat, or even for something like Dirk Gently. Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency. A novel by Richard Adams that I love, and I thought I was the only person who ever heard of it, and then suddenly there's
You and Max Landis.
Yes, exactly. We were the only two, apparently. One of the only combinations or comparisons between me and Max Landis there should be. So when you have characters like that, or you're playing Sons of Tucson, which is, again, like we talked about, lovable galoot, but even Sons of Tucson, there's this fathership role that even when being scammed by these children, if you have not seen Sons of Tucson, it was a very good sitcom.
Disagree, but
I really enjoyed as because it was unlike at the time a storytelling that was being happening in that aspect of sitcom.
For sure.
Now we've had other sitcoms who have gone, we can tackle much serious issues throughout the whole run, only murders in the building and things like that. But I feel that television doesn't get to move forward with that without something like Sons of Tucson.
It was definitely the
the
beginning of sort of like, or at least in the middle of the wave of like, hey, anti-heroes are kind of the way to go right
There
now,
we go.
you know?
And that's in the middle of the wave. I like that. I'm definitely going to be getting into Tucker and Dale. Recently you just said, though, that you just got back from Sweden filming.
I did.
Can you talk at all about what it was?
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about Sweden. These are my favorite
You
things.
loved it.
I loved it. I loved Sweden. They eat candy all day, every day. I don't know if has anyone been to Sweden? So I can say anything.
Yeah, you could say that they're all green and float 3 feet off the ground.
They do. No, they're wonderful people. They eat candy all day long. They call candy goodies, which I thought was the cutest thing in the world. You want some goodies? Goodies? They play ping pong incessantly, and they call that pingies. They're beautiful. The country is beautiful. The politics are a little bit messy right now, but in general, it's a beautiful place. But this movie is fucking insane. Has anybody by any chance seen a movie called Aniara? Okay, write it down, go home, look it up, whatever. Aniara, A-N-I-A-R-A. It's by a Swedish filmmaking duo, they're married, named Hugo Lilja and Pella Pilgerman. You don't need to remember any of that. Just look up Aniara. So they made this crazy movie and they offered me the lead role in this, their first American English-speaking feature. It's called The Egghead Republic, and it's based on a novel. And I'm basically playing Gavin McInnes. Do you guys know who that is?
Yeah.
You guys know, you ever heard of the Proud Boys?
Yeah.
Yeah, or Vice Magazine. So he is that guy.
Oh!
Yeah, and my character's name is Dino Davis, and he's totally drug-fueled, booze-addled, womanizing, insane human being. And we shot a movie where it's based on the director's personal experience. When she worked for Vice, for Gavin, they went to Chernobyl looking for centaurs. looking for mutated animals that they were. The rumor was that in the fallout zone, there were actually creatures that were mutated so badly that there were centaurs there. So this movie is about that. It's about her experience going to the zone with Gavin McInnes, looking for centaurs. And it sounds ludicrous, and it is, but it's a character piece, and it was so unique and wonderful. And their movie Aniara, if you do go home and watch it, you'll see like these guys they're going to be huge, and it's a magical, crazy movie, and I can't wait for people to see it. And I'm still coming down from playing Dino. It was nuts, man. And so we had to like snort a lot of cocaine on the on camera. In the beginning, I was like, yeah, can we just get like a B12? Like, we'll just snort B12, because I heard that Jonah Hill did that on Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street, yeah.
And but I also remember hearing that he got bad diarrhea from that, so that started to happen. And then your nostrils get caked with feels like dough. And then we were like, what about what was the other? We went from B12 to vitamin B simplex. Then we went to powdered sugar.
Oh, jeez.
Then we went, because I was like, oh, fucking powdered sugar, it'll make me feel like I'm high. Let's just do powdered sugar, man.
Let's pixie stick it.
Don't ever snort powdered sugar, man. And then we ended up using vitamin C and vitamin B and vitamin D mixed together. So anyway,
you didn't have a cold the whole time you were there.
No, I felt great. I felt fucking fantastic. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Fake cocaine is a hell of a drug.
How was that, especially because you were talking about 5 years sobriety, how was that going, I'm going to now play
This
my
guy.
character up to 11?
Yeah.
Take it. You don't need a
This
stand.
guy. There was definitely like a moment for me before I went to do it where I was like, oh God, I don't know if I can do it anymore. Like, I was never like a maniac. I wasn't like a maniacal drunk, but I was definitely like I indulged a lot, and I ended up in a lot of really bad situations, and that stuff creates trauma. Like, I almost died several times from my addictions. And then someone's like, hey, you know that thing that almost killed you a bunch? Can you do that on camera? And you're like, yeah. And then I got there and I had all this anxiety. And I already have anxiety. I'm a big advocate for mental health, as you said, and I talk about it a lot. But I have clinical anxiety. So, of course you start reliving these traumas, and my whole body was like, oh my God. But then after a week, I just slid right into it. I just kind of was like, I'm back. Which was also like, oh shit. So I started calling my sponsor, and I find myself going home after work, especially I quit smoking 4 years ago as well. I was a voracious smoker, but I'm smoking herbal cigarettes all the time. And I chose as my character to be chewing gum, smoking cigarettes, snorting cocaine, and constantly drinking from a flask all the time. Because I was consumed. This guy just consumes. So I'd go home after work and I was just like, I fucking need something. What do I do with my body? What am I supposed to do with this? I just found that empty thing that you try to fill as an addict was opening up again. I was like, shit, okay, so time to call my sponsor, time to do some program work, time to...
How do you come down from something like that? Because you were talking Iggy from and having to come down out of that, and now this. What are some of the things that you do to ground yourself back into Tyler?
Well, it's funny, we only finished New Amsterdam at the end of December, and I went and shot this movie at the beginning of April. So I only had a few months in between there where I went home and I did a lot of, work at just kind of reintegrating into my life. I have 3 children. I live in California. I live in Ojai. Hey guys, I live in Ojai. Come on up. And I knew I had this movie coming up, so I was kind of doing a lot of prep too, and watching a lot of interviews with Gavin McInnes. And the way I came down off of Iggy Frome was playing Dino. And I had this thing in my mind. I was like, I'm gonna literally rip Iggy from my psyche and from my being by playing this completely different character. And I did. I totally did. I don't have much Iggy left in me, but I have a ton of Dino in me right now.
At the moment.
At the moment, yeah.
2 weeks from now, you might not.
Yeah, and then at some point you realize I'm none of these people. I'm me.
Yeah.
A guy who's starting to like himself more and more, as the years go by. So I'm having an easier time getting back to center usually after these roles. But Iggy was literally playing a walking hug for 5 years. It couldn't have been. Has anybody seen New Amsterdam in here?
Yeah.
So yeah, Iggy was just the gentlest, sweetest, most sincere, earnest character I think I'd ever played, and I loved it. I ate that up. So I glean a lot from these roles, and then I move forward. And so what I can only assume now is I Iggy's still in here, and I went and did Dino, and Dino's in here, and then at a certain point you're like, oh, that was already there. It's all there, you know. So
then if you have
just
all
let
these
it exist.
characters inside you, there's one of them in there that I want to talk about, and that's Hunk.
Voltron? Any Voltron fans here?
Voltron? Okay.
Couple, yeah.
Being you are of the age to know Voltron, I just gotta know, like, did they approach you? Did they hear your voice? Did you go audition?
Yeah.
Did you send in a bunch of stuff? Is this the string of a bunch of 80s remakes of cartoons that you're gonna go, fuck it, I'm gonna do Thundercats now? What I wanna know.
No, because there are lots of those, and I think most of them shouldn't be touched. But Voltron, I pursued Voltron. I found out they were making Voltron. I was like, I'm a huge Voltron fan. I was like, I have to be in Voltron. I have to play Hunk. Like, I loved Hunk. Hunk was my favorite character from the original 80s cartoon. Voltron had also been bastardized like 3 more times in my life.
Yeah.
Where I was like, what are they doing? That was a terrible idea. You know, like there's so many bad iterations of Voltron. And then this one was the creative team behind the new Voltron, and it was DreamWorks, and it was Netflix, and it was Lauren Montgomery and Joaquin Dos Santos, who did Avatar: The Last Airbender. They wrote the new Spider-Man multiverse movie that's out right now. Like, they're talented, wonderful writers. And I went in, and they were like I forced my way into the audition, basically. Called my agents, was like, just get me in. They're like, he's a 17-year-old boy. And I was like, yeah.
So was I once.
So what, man? And this is, I had vocal surgery a few years ago, but I used to sound a lot more gruff. I had a much gruffer voice. And I went in there with that voice, and they were just like, I could see them in the booth just like, what is this guy doing here? But I just knew I could do it, and I had this like very childlike energy and curiosity and sweetness again. I love that there's, even when I play these kind of, you know, brash or dopey characters or whatever, there's always this sweetness, I think. And Hunk is very sweet. And the writers of the show just loved me, and the director, oh my God, why am I forgetting her name? Doesn't matter, you guys won't know it anyway, but she's a legend in VO. She was like, that's the guy. But networks and Netflix and DreamWorks, yeah, networks and Dreamflix, were like, no, he's not, man. That's like a 37-year-old chain smoker. We can't have that guy be Hunk. So they muscled me into a 3-episode trial period. And Netflix was like, okay, we'll let him do 3 episodes, and if by the 3rd episode we think it's not working, he's out, and we'll hire somebody else. And they had another actor that I met, can't remember his name, but who was there.
You actually met them?
Yeah. We just were passing each other as I left one day at the studio, and he was like, I'm the other Hunk. I was like, oh, what? Anyway, you guys would know him too, but I can't remember his name. But
that's like giving somebody a 2-week notice and going, oh, this is your replacement.
Yeah, like, and he's just going to be waiting in the wings for you to fuck
for the
up.
next 2 weeks, they're going to sit right behind you.
But, you know, like, there are moments in your life when you step up, and that was one of them. I was like, I'm not losing this role. Like, I got to do it. And they just wanted me to adjust and sound a little more youthful and young in the voice. So I went to a vocal coach, and I learned about sort of opening up and being a little bit in my higher register, you know, and found it. And then by the end of it, they were just like, oh my God, we can't imagine anybody else playing Hunk.
That is very much a lesson in believing in yourself and putting that forward, because
one, going for what you want, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I want Voltron.
I want this, so I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
We are at Sinister Creature Con. I need to talk about the horror connection no matter what.
Yeah.
So
there's a reason I'm here.
we're gonna start with the newer and go back. So I want to mention Escape Room.
Sure.
And the character, we don't need to mention Tournament of Champions. You're just your archival footage, basically.
Yeah.
In the first one, it was, your character is unlike what I've seen from you at that point of Escape Room. Again, was this an audition? Was this a script that came your way that you saw that you're like, oh, this looks like fun? What drew you to it? Or did somebody call you and go, I want that guy?
A little bit of all of those things happened. So I heard that they were making an escape room movie. My Canadian agent, for some reason, who I don't talk to that much anymore, I'm Canadian, reached out and was like, I got you an audition for like we don't know what part. It's just an audition for the movie. And I was like, yeah, and that happens sometimes. They don't want to release a script. They don't want you. And I was like, okay. And they gave me 1 page of sides. And I think the dialogue was, there's a joke in the movie where they wanted me to make a dad joke about her keys. Like, I could never find my keys. There's some joke when we're trying to find a key in the escape room. And that was it. That was the audition. There was like 2 lines. And I remember being like, how could they ever discern from that whether they want me to be presumably one of the leads of this movie or a big role in the movie? And they saw it and they loved it. And I was like, loved what? Like, loved what? It was like literally like an 8-second clip of me. And it turns out that the big producer, Neil Moritz, I think his name is, was like just wanting protocol. You know, a lot of producers are like, look, if this guy wants to do it, he needs to kiss the ring, quote unquote.
Yeah.
He's got to read. And I was like, oh. So they made me read one line basically. And but I also like the idea of an escape room movie was really appealing. I love escape rooms. You guys go to escape rooms at all?
Yeah.
I think what's that?
Not after seeing?
No, that one would be a bad one to go to.
I went to a bunch of them, then I saw your movie and went,
and then I died. Yeah, so it was a bit of a combo, you know, it was like interest from me. It always takes that, you know, but then there was like interest from them as well. So it wasn't like they were just throwing this huge net out saying like, let everyone read this one line.
Yeah.
They knew they wanted me, but they wanted me to appease the powers that
They
be.
wanted you to want them too.
They wanted me to read, and I also, there was no script. I couldn't read a script.
Yeah,
So I literally had like 3 lines of dialogue to sort of read and decide whether I wanted to pursue or not.
I was debating whether or not to ask you about this next movie because of the fact that I feel that if you haven't seen this movie, the moment the movie changes direction is spoiled by simply asking you about the film Cottage Country. So, how many have you seen Cottage Country? You go watch Cottage Country. Not now.
It's me and Malin Ackerman. It's a really bizarre movie. It's very dark.
Yes,
It's super fucked up.
It is.
You guys like fucked up stuff here, right? Yeah, it's fucked up, and there's a beheading, and there's all kinds of weird shit in it. So.
Darkly comedic, very horror, and the chemistry between you and Malin Ackerman is just you could eat it up. It is delicious to watch the two of you, and I, as a fan of that movie, would love to see the two of you do just a bunch of things together.
We are big fans of each other. We're friends. We're actually trying to set up a play date for our kids next week. Yeah. Yeah, that movie. That movie is a weird one. It was a really fun movie for me to go do. It was a big opportunity to go do another lead in a movie for me, which doesn't happen all the time. I've had more of them now, but at the time I was like, yeah. But I have a really fun story from that movie. Do you guys want to hear it?
Yes, please.
Although it'll give away the end, but does anybody really care?
Don't remember the ending story,
Yeah.
and then go and watch it.
The last shot of the movie is me lying on the ground and a camera pushing in painfully slow as I die on one of my eyes. And we're shooting it, it's like we're down by the water, there's wind whipping, there's like dirt on the ground that keeps like finding its way into my eye, and we're lying, and we keep having to like come in and wipe my face off and like reset the camera, and each time we do it, I'm lying there trying to hold my breath and keep my eyes open for like probably a good minute, which is kind of hard to do. So you're like slowing your breathing down and lying there in dead eyes, and we're doing this over and over and over and over, and something keeps going wrong, or I blink, or something goes in my eye, and it's just a nightmare to shoot, and it's taking hours. I keep having to take a break and go like moisturize my eyes, and everyone's in on these meetings, like what could we do, maybe we can, and it's just like, fuck, I can do it, like we just need to keep trying. So we finally got one where it was like, pretty much exactly everything the director wanted, you know, and we wrapped the movie, left. I was like, that was a challenging thing to do. And then I go to the premiere of the movie, and I'm waiting, because I know that last scene is coming up, and I know it's gonna be a really cool shot. And I'm watching it, and it's great. Like I'm not blinking, I'm not breathing, and I'm lying there dying, and all you can see is my vein in my neck,
Yeah.
just pumping just such a healthy heartbeat. Just a very much a living human being, just with a nice, healthy heartbeat pounding in a giant shot where it's like, you're supposed to be watching my eye, but you keep like looking over at this vein in my neck. Like, yep, he's not dead. It was just, I was like, God damn, movie making, man.
Oh, God, I love that you can laugh at something like that going, I remember working my ass off, and still,
Yeah.
what was that?
You never can tell.
Never can. So, we have to talk about Tucker and Dale.
Sure.
I'm guessing
Has anybody
you've
seen
seen Tucker and Dale?
If you haven't, go check it out.
What?
What's it called?
Oh, it's a little film. Most people haven't.
Never heard of it.
Tucker and Dale and Tucker versus
Tucker
the
and
not
Dale
so nice
versus- yeah.
versus
Yeah,
the not so
yeah.
nice.
I may have watched it 4 times.
May have watched it a few times today. Making sure your name.
Well,
is
usually
actually-
they say Tyler Labine and then it says Tucker.
Tucker and Dale. No, you get to stand on your own here. Tucker and Dale is quite possibly one of the best examples of horror comedy in existence.
I agree.
It plays that balance, and exactly what I said earlier, that the setup for kill and the setup for a joke take that same amount of skill. This movie takes that statement of mine that I've been saying for years and goes, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking prove it. And everything is pitch perfect timing, wonderful. Your performance, Alan's performance, that script,
College camps.
everything. I want to know, A, is there the truth out there that I've heard the rumor that there is an edit where it is you guys are the killers? Okay.
Not true.
Okay, because
False.
there's been a rumor going around for a while that there's a scene that you and Alan filmed proving that you're the killers. I'm like, why? That would
No.
ruin everything.
No.
Good, wonderful. How the press junket for that movie, watching you and Alan slowly through interviews go crazier and crazier throughout your press junket, because the press junket takes. How long was the junket for Tucker and Dale?
I mean, we did, oh God, we did so many festivals, right? We did Sundance, Fantasia, Slam Dance, what else? We did so many, I can't remember, we did so many small festivals.
Yeah.
And we won the Midnight Audience Award at Sundance, so we had this, we went into it kind of hot shit. But yeah, man, you answered the same question, or questions, for, I think it was probably about 2-3 months total where we were out there promoting the film. Yeah, you tend to get a little batty, you get a little bit nutty, yeah.
Is there any stories that you can remember or that you even want to share about moments between the two of you, between the next time that somebody asked you a question?
I do remember one moment where we were in Montreal for Fantasia, for the film festival, which we won the film, the best film of the festival. And we were going to the screening, and Alan was like, let's go get some shots before we go into the theater. And so we were drinking, and then I was like, we gotta go. And Alan was like, nah. You go ahead, man. I'll show up at the end. And I was like, oh, okay. And I went, and he didn't show. He was enjoying Montreal a little too much. But it was, there was Alan and I get along so well. And he had such an appreciation for the film and what we'd done that there was never, we got a little, loopy, I'd say, but it was always we had a reverence and a respect for the film.
It looked like every interview, because I was watching a lot to get ready for, and every interview, it looked like you guys were just, every time the cameras turned off, you pulled out cards and started playing.
No, but we were both from an improv background, so there's a lot of,
okay.
yeah, there's a lot of ad-libbing and goofing around and, doing bits. Alan loves bits. He's a bit guy.
Are there, I know you said in an interview that you would work with Alan again in a heartbeat, just make a phone call. Is there anybody else that falls under that list of actors you've worked with that if they called you right now and said, hey, I got a part for you, you just drop and go?
Yeah, for sure. I have quite a few actors like that. Lizzie Kaplan was a good friend of mine who we did a pilot together years ago, and we were just both like, whoa, got to do something together again. I would say that Martin Starr is another one of those actors that I would just jump at the opportunity to work with him again. Mullen Ackerman, Adam Scott and I did a little project together. Little Evil, actually. Eli Craig, who directed Tucker and Dale.
Another great horror comedy.
Yeah, and
Yes.
me and Adam Scott just like hit it off like gangbusters, and like we exchanged information, and we've a couple of moments where we almost did something again. But yeah, I have like a list of people that I'd love to work with again, you know. But it's like we were talking about, this industry is so best laid plans don't mean shit. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah.
This is where I would like to turn it over to you, amazing people. You're tired of hearing my voice anyway, so I'd like to hear yours. I want some questions for Tyler. John's got the microphone. Who's got a question? Right over here.
Hey Tyler,
Hi.
I'm a big fan of yours, and I'm also a big fan of the Broken Lizard guys. And I just wanted to know if you guys worked well together and if it was fun
Oh my
making
God.
Super Troopers 2.
Yes, and yes. They're amazing, man. You know, Jay Chandrasekhar and I knew each other for quite a while before, because he directs a lot of other TV, and he's kind of he's out there on the circuit. So I met him doing Animal Practice, which is another show that I did, and he right away was like, "You would fit in really well with the Broken Lizard guys," and I was like, "Yeah, no shit." And we so we went to Waltham and outside of Boston, and we shot that movie for like 6 weeks, I guess. But I also like, because they're nuts. I don't know if you guys have ever met any of them. They're party animals, they're insane, but they're so professional. They're so good at what they do. I don't think people realize just how talented they are at writing and crafting a story, you know? So like, even if they showed up to work after having an hour and a half of sleep, it was still like, it was very professional, you know? And I respect that. I think that's cool because you can go to work and have a good time and be funny, but like you got to be making something, you know? You can't just go and goof off in front of a camera.
We have another question. I thought I saw a hand over. Yeah, there we go, right on the aisle.
And Kevin Heffernan and I are long lost brothers, obviously.
What was it like working with the Clerks guys on Zach and Mary?
Yeah, well, Muse is here, as you know. Kevin Smith and I had done Reaper together. He produced and directed a few episodes of Reaper. He directed the pilot and produced the series, but then came in and directed a couple more episodes. So Kevin and I hit it off, and me and Jay hit it off. And Kevin was like, "Do you want to come to Monrovia, Philadelphia, or Pittsburgh?"
Yeah.
And was like, "Come shoot Zach and Mary make a porno." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm there." And there was literally, again, it was one of those things. Has anyone seen Zach and Mary make a porno?
Yeah.
So you know, like one of the biggest quotes for me that I get is "Huck it, chuck it, football." And on paper, all that was written for that character was, "Are you guys still open?" And they're like in the middle of fucking. And I say, "I need some coffee." And then I say, "Was anybody at the game tonight?" That was the only scripted dialogue for that scene. And Kevin, who is not super into ad-libbing, but who I had met at a very critical moment in his career when he was like kind of realizing that maybe that was an oversight, and hired Craig Robinson, Seth Rogen, Elizabeth Banks, all heavily improvisational actors. Justin Long, myself. So he was experimenting, I think, with what that collaboration could be. Because it was never just like, he would point a camera at you and you say what's on the page, or he would point a camera at you and you just say whatever you want. It was somewhere in between where he would shout things from behind Video Village, like, "Say this!" It's like, it was like Adam McKay before Adam McKay was doing it, you know what I mean? So he was like shouting things, and you would just try things, and obviously I was improvising myself, and Craig Robinson, and Jay Muse, and everyone got into that vibe, and it was just such a fun, like, party, collaborative environment. But again, Kevin is an amazing filmmaker, and he knows exactly what he wants to make. So it's never like, I'm not trying to badmouth Judd Apatow, but like, those movies, sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is this movie about? You know what I mean? Kevin is very story-oriented, whereas I think some other people making improv comedy or comedy movies are really just about getting a gag after a gag after a gag.
A
I
series of
don't.
bits.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't want a bunch of bits strung together. I want a story being told, and Kevin is really good at doing that. So, yeah, I that's what that was like working with those guys. And Craig Robinson was just like literally, like playing patty cake with people in between takes, and like singing and dancing, and like pulling out his keyboard. Like he's just so rad, man. He's just like a cheerleader on set. Yeah.
I don't think enough people are going to give credit where credit's due. That was a great Kevin Smith impersonation, by the way, of yelling.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, say it like this. Yeah, no, that was good. I like that.
Yeah.
I thought I saw a hand back over that direction. Can't tell. Maybe I just saw fanning. Who knows? Okay. All right. So I've got more questions easily. If they don't, that's fine.
I got some questions for you guys.
All right, give it to them.
Kidding. What's your favorite con? Good answer.
A
Okay.
little more enthusiasm for the video. What's your favorite con? There we go. Recently, I was stalking you on a live, and we were talking, or you were chatting with all of your fans. I love that. Like I said earlier, I love that whenever you do a live and people will chime in, you try to get to everybody. You try to answer everybody, and I'm like, that is amazing. Most people just want to talk and then leave. I asked you a ridiculous question and said, because of all this time you've been spending in the gym, is there a superhero that you would like to play? Do you remember who you said?
Did I say Hercules?
You said Hercules.
Yeah, I always loved Herc. And years ago, because Hercules from the comic books is really funny and smarmy,
Oh, yeah.
and like, yes, he's way more ripped than I am, but he was also just kind of big. He's just like God big, you know what I mean? And I'm a big guy, and I feel like I could, if someone trained me and I could put on some more muscle, I think I got the right stuff to play Herc. And at one point, I don't know if you guys remember when Twitter polls actually meant something.
Yeah.
There was like a bunch of Twitter polls that I was on to play Herc. If it was ever turned into a, before Dwayne Johnson marred the whole thing up, but it was before that, and then there was like there's another superhero that I got. No, Megas XLR, Mega, you guys know what that is? Anyway, so there was a Twitter poll about me playing Hercules, and that really got me going like, oh God, that'd be really cool, man. But I'm 45 now, and I'm in the best shape of my life.
I was about to say,
but-
you're just hitting a prime. What are you talking about?
Would you guys watch me play Hercules?
There we go.
Then it's done. It's
There
a
we
deal,
go.
all right?
Somebody get Feige on the fucking phone.
Get me Dreamflix on the phone.
Dreamflix. Yes, please. I read that in your, if I read it correctly, in your 20s you were writing plays.
I did not write plays in my 20s, no.
Then somebody lied on the internet of
Were you
all
on
places. That's-
Wikipedia?
No.
No, I
avoid
did.
that.
I've written a lot of films and TV with my brother. I did do a lot of sketch comedy that I wrote in high
That's
school.
really misunderstood.
Yeah, but again, mostly improv. Like I led an improv troupe in high school. Yeah.
What was the name of your improv troupe in high school?
Oh God, who knows, man? But I remember I did start a theater called the Black Box Theater. I thought that was so cool. Every theater is a
Anything
box
small
theater.
is a black
Yeah,
box theater.
yeah,
I'm
but-
doing a show at a black box theater.
And I wasn't in a black box theater. I was in a high school gym.
Oh shit! I love that.
Yeah.
I asked that. There we go. So I want to talk a couple of your comedies that I feel, and I noticed you have an 8x10 of, people miss when they're talking about comedies of that era. And one of them is Good Old Fashioned Orgy.
Yeah.
How many people have seen Good Old Fashioned Orgy?
Yeah.
One?
It's really funny. It's Jason Sudeikis, Will Forte, Nick Kroll, Martin Starr, Lake Bell, Lucy Punch, Don Johnson, Leslie Bibb, me, Lynn Shay, David Koechner, like everybody's in that movie, and it's fucking funny. And it's about a bunch of friends who are like, we've done it all. We've done all the parties and the themed parties, and what should we do now? And then the one, the big sort of head honcho of the group is like, orgy, 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 and everyone's like, sure, man. And then it sort of starts to gain steam, and we're like, why couldn't we have an orgy? Like, we're grown-ups, right?
We can do
You guys have
this.
had orgies with your friends, right?
Right? No?
No, there's
I
a,
know
reason, there's
you
a
have.
reason why you haven't. But we do in the movie, we do, and it's sort of about what happens after the orgy. Yeah.
I love that, again, this is at that time that you're playing a lot of the lovable galoot, but even...
Another mic, yet another mic.
What you said even, as far as this sweetness, this heart of that character, and maybe that is just always you shining through your characters.
I think there's a thing that I realized when I was playing Sock on Reaper, where I was like, they kept piling on offensive shit, right? Like, just how wild and offensive could we make it? And I was like right there beside them, like, yeah, what if I said this or did this? And I started doing that in some other roles and realizing that people were, you're saying things that would get you slapped in real life, but there's a bunch of people behind the camera going like, yeah, that's people are like, it's so funny. And so I started to realize, like, oh, I think there's an inherent, and this is hard for me to say because I'm, my ego and I struggle to love myself and all these things, but I think there's like a likability to me that even I don't totally see. I don't understand. And I think other people do. People who cast me in these movies and shows were like, if you put him in that role, you can almost make him do anything, and people will still be like, oh, but he's a nice guy. He's sweet, you can see it. I guess maybe that's me. I mean, it has to be, because I played some pretty fucking offensive characters. But, there's like a thing about me I think that people like, and it's not my job to really understand that. It's just my job to sort of do what I would do with that material, yeah.
Is there a type of character that you have seen, whether you've auditioned for it or not, whether or not somebody's ever talked to you about it, but is there a type of character or character arc that you're like, I'm fiending for this.
Yeah.
I would love
for
to
sure.
do that.
Yes, I think there is. I love underdog characters. I mean, like a vigilante type underdog. Like someone who's had enough and takes it into their own hands. I've always loved that. And I don't know if I've ever seen it done totally right. I mean, Batman maybe.
Falling down.
Yeah, Falling Down is fucking great, man. Some movies like that where someone just snaps and takes the law into their own hands.
A you version.
Yeah. And I also really love like any anti-hero, like Walter White. No one does it better than Vince Gilligan, man. Like Walter White, Saul Goodman. The when you have enough time to take someone to the dark side, like we were talking about, like if you take someone likable, like Bryan Cranston, and you make him a meth dealer, like that show just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and America and the world ate it up. They were like, yeah. And I think that collectively we all realized at that point, like, oh, we love watching people become undone. That's what I'm fiending for, and that's why when we played Dino, like it was an undoing of a character that was barely held together already. But I want to watch myself play a character that goes from being fairly, done up to just completely unraveled. And I just find that so appealing because I think it's very human. Like I have fallen apart in my life multiple times, but
It's gotta be cathartic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think it's endlessly entertaining. We love what what do Americans do better than any country in the world? Build people up and tear them the fuck down, right?
Yeah.
Because we love it. We love the blood. We love the fucking gore, the blood. We love the pain, the anguish. We love casting off people, And then what do we do again after that?
Redemption arc.
Redemption.
Bring them back.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
So I think that's such a thing that we love as people, especially as North Americans. I think that we love is that watching someone just go off the rails, man. And I love it too. I'm not gonna lie. So
you want to play it?
yeah, and I've played that to a degree, but not to the
Not
degree
the
that I want.
extent you
There's a character out there I think for me that I really can do that with. That'll be me.
I have been very honored, and I'm very lucky to get to sit and chat with you. I often keep forgetting that they're right there because I
These
hear
guys?
them every now and then, but I'm just lucky that I get to talk to you. You have always been one of my favorite actors to see show up. It's every time that I'm watching something and, oh shit, Tyler Labine's in this. Great, yeah, I'm very happy to see because it is, like I said, those moments of playing the big, lovable Galoo and getting to see somebody successful. Doing it.
I mean, I can imagine you have been a lovable galoot in your life a few times yourself,
A
and
few times.
yeah, we're kin.
So, I thank you very much. I thank all of you for coming
Thank
to
you,
watch
guys.
Tyler
Thank you.
Labine. If you want to really thank him, make sure you go to his table. Make sure you get an 8x10 autograph. Keep him coming back here by visiting him out there, all right?
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, guys. I appreciate you.